The books after the coming of Jesus Christ, we call them the New Testament. Fine. 73 books now are divided unequally. 46 are put under the Old Testament and 27 are put under the New Testament. Now, we are still categorizing further. So this will be called sub-categorization. First was category based on Jesus Christ, sub-categorization based on the content of the Bible, content of the book. So, whenever the content is law, all the books having the law as their content, one category. There are 5 books in that category called Pentateuch. Second content is the history of Israel, not any other country. History of Israel, that is the second content. And we have 16 books in the Bible which are called historical books. Then we have the third content called oracles. Oracles, prophecy. Now there are 18 books in the Bible containing oracles. We call them prophets. And the last category is the content is the art of living. We call them wisdom books. There are 7 of them. So once again, 73 books are divided into 2. The Old Testament, the New Testament. Dividing criterion is Jesus Christ. 46 books of the Old Testament are divided into 4. The dividing criterion is the content. Pentateuch, historical books, prophets, wisdom literature. Just for the sake of completion, let's touch the New Testament also. In the New Testament, again the content, if it is the life of Jesus Christ, they are called Gospels, 4 of them. If the content is the Acts of the Apostles, then the division is called Acts of the Apostles. We have just 1 book. Then we have the third content, issues of the communities. Now this is called the letters, 21 letters. And last content is what is going to happen in future. That is called Revelation. That's only 1 book. So we have in the New Testament the subdivisions Gospel, the Acts of the Apostles, 4 Gospels, 1 Acts of the Apostles, letters, 21 of them, and Revelation, 1 book. So that makes 27. Our topic is historical books, so let us come back to the historical books, 16 of them. Again, subdivision. First, 73 books divided, division. Next, subdivision, Old Testament divided, subdivided into 4 divisions. And 1 of them is historical books. Now we further subdivide historical books. 4 types of history available in the Bible. First type of history is called Deuteronomic history. It's on page 4 of this book, which you would have. On page 4, I am just speaking. Now there are Deuteronomic books. What is the content? We shall see as we go ahead. There is another division which is called chronicler history. Then there is third division, Maccabean history. And the fourth and final division is inspirational history. In the Bible, in the Old Testament, in the historical book section, we have 4 types of history available. Deuteronomic or Deuteronomistic. Chronicler, second, Maccabean, third, inspirational, fourth. Let's make the list of the books. Deuteronomistic history, 6 books. Joshua, Judges, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings. Easy. Joshua, Judges, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings. Let's go to Chronicler history. 4 books. Easy. 1 Chronicles, plural, 2 Chronicles, plural, Ezra, Nehemiah. Chronicler history is over. Third, Maccabean history, just 2 books. 1 Maccabees, 2 Maccabees. Finally, inspirational history, Ruth, David, Judith, Esther. So these are the 16 books. These are 16 books. Once again, before you get tired, 16 books of the Bible are divided into 4 types of history. Deuteronomistic history, 6 books. Chronicler history, 4 books. Maccabean history, 2 books. Inspirational history, 4 books. Now, just a word about the word history. A word about the word history. What we understand with the word history as focus of attention on the event. So suppose if I see, okay, I'm able to see Mr. Peter Wong, and if I see Peter Wong's history, so event of birth of Mr. Peter, then his baptism, then his education, then his scholarship, then his whatever events that have happened in the life of Mr. Peter. Wonderful. Now, what we are in the Bible concentrating is not on the events, on the one who is making those events. And the one who is making those events is God. So history in the historical books is seen from God's point of view. It is not seen from events' point of view. All these who are writing, they are writing to present God who is at the back of all these events. So seeing the hand of God, the act of God, action of God behind every event. This is, my brothers, my sisters, the unique contribution of Israel. No other people have seen, as far as my knowledge, no other people have seen their history where God is at the center. That was page 4. Now, if you look into the notes, I have described book of Deuteronomy. Do not worry. This was just for the pleasure of reading, because 6 books who are called Deuteronomistic history will be governed by this book of Deuteronomy. The Deuteronomy book falls at the juncture point, at the junction where 4 books of Pentateuch are over: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. 4 books are over, and there comes Deuteronomy. After that, the 6 books of historical books, that means Deuteronomistic history comes. Joshua, Judges, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings. You might find Ruth there, but we will talk of Ruth later. Ruth is not Deuteronomistic history. So just all these pages that begins from 5 onward, I will just say it in the shortest possible words. So I want to go to page 16, but before I go to page 16, from 5 to 15, I will summarize and you will remember. What is the book of Deuteronomy saying? The book of Deuteronomy is saying, if you obey, you prosper. If you disobey, perish. Whether and I agree with this theology or not, let us not debate. We just take the theology. Theology means understanding presented by the book. What is the understanding? If Jimmy obeys, Jimmy prospers. If Jimmy
Father,
does not, yes.
When you bend down your head, we don't hear your voice sometimes. You
Okay,
look at
I will not.
Yes.
I will not.
We are happy to continue. Yeah.
Okay. So far, was it okay?
Yes, it's okay. Okay, good. Continue.
Very nice. Very nice.
Then it'll be easier.
Very nice. Very nice. So I was talking about. Hello. It's okay. Right. So,
Can hear you, Father.
okay. Very good. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you. Huh? Keep on because this is not. I'm not used to this system here. It's borrowed. Here, the Deuteronomy is giving this understanding. If Jimmy obeys, Jimmy prospers. Jimmy does not obey, Jimmy does not prosper. Jimmy perishes. So now, the authors who are writing Joshua, Judges, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings, they will now write the history keeping this understanding, this theology at their heart. So, did Joshua succeed? Yes. Why Joshua succeeded? Because he obeyed God. Did Judge so and so succeed? No. Why? Because he disobeyed God. So this is how they are going to present the history. Therefore, these 6 books are called Deuteronomistic history. They are all Deuteronomistic history books. Why? Because they keep the theology presented by the book Deuteronomy. Now, whether we agree with that theology or not, that is not the question. Before we disagree, we must understand what is being communicated. And this is what is communicated by the book Deuteronomy. If you obey, you prosper. If you disobey, you perish. Then all these books will be examining different characters. All the characters will be examined and we will be seeing them. Fine. So this is what all in these pages from 5 to 15 I have put in detailed way so that you enjoy reading. If we had more time, I would have surely shown, but at the moment this is enough. Now, what I want to show is on page 16. Who are the authors of these 6 books? Deuteronomists, they are called. So on page 16, the last paragraph, and the title of that paragraph is Deuteronomist. These are the ones who wrote these 16 books of, forgive me, the 6 books. The 6 books are written by these Deuteronomists. Who are they? So they are the ones who reflect over what happened in the history of Israel. The very first thing happened in history of Israel in 7. First, let us see, just to make you walk with me. my dear brothers, my dear sisters, after the death of Solomon, the 12 tribes of Israel, united kingdom, was divided into two after the death of Solomon. Why and all that is given in the 6 books that we will be studying. Now, these two kingdoms are unequally divided. 10 tribes make one, 2 tribes make the other. The 10 tribes become northern kingdom. The 2 tribes become southern kingdom. Now, these 10 tribes, they are called Israel, with the capital city Samaria. Whereas the 2 tribes, the southern kingdom is called Judah, with the capital city Jerusalem. Now comes the date 722 before Christ. In that date, the northern kingdom is by the neighboring kingdom. That neighboring kingdom in today, 2020, is Iraq. That time it was called Assyria. The destruction took place, and one tribe which was floating, that tribe is Levite tribe. All these Levites, they ran to the southern kingdom. And while they are in the southern kingdom, they are reflecting, why are we this? And they come up with certain writings. Why they are doing this? In 586 before Christ, the southern kingdom, that is the 2 tribes, they go into exile. Who takes them to exile? Again, today it is called Iran. In 586 before Christ, it was called. So, the generation is changed, but reflection has not changed. They kept on reflecting, why are we, the chosen race, get routed? And therefore, these historians who are originally Levi, they are Levites who have run away to southern kingdom, and their generations, they are writing this. While they are writing, they come up with this theology. Why are we routed? Because we obey. Since we disobey, we perish. And this is how this Deuteronomy is a group of scholars. They are writing the history. Now, history cannot be made. It has happened, so they will borrow that. But what they add is the interpretation of it. So Joshua succeeded, but Judge so and so failed. King David succeeded, but King Saul failed. All these they keep on writing. So these are the Deuteronomies. Okay, now I take you, my dear brothers, my dear sisters, to the first section called Deuteronomistic history. We are going to go to the first book, Joshua. There are 24 chapters. Now, in your notes, this book will appear on page 18. On page 18, Joshua is mentioned. In detailed way, I have mentioned everything is here. Page 18. What will I do now? In a summary form, I will be presenting to you what this book is saying. I can see some of you are referring that. I'm on page 18.
Father.
Yes, sister. Yes, Father.
Yeah, some of them may not be following the book because it's open to all. Yeah, so therefore you need not limit to the book, but please look up, Father, again. You're going down, when you are bending to look at the book, we are missing your words. We don't hear
Okay,
you.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
So then,
You can come closer
then
to the computer.
okay, so they are not following the book then, because I thought they will be following books. So
They will
therefore,
use it. They will use it. Some of them maybe later on also, but you can more interested now into listening to you about these
okay,
historical books.
okay, fine.
Come
So
close to the computer, Father. Maybe you can push your chair a little closer to the computer.
is it okay now?
Then yeah, correct. Yeah.
Is it okay?
Yes, Father. Very good.
Okay.
Keep looking.
I myself am not able to see myself, huh?
That
I'm
is true.
just
What
seeing
happened?
you.
Yeah,
Okay, that is how I'm unable to see because and I'm okay. Let's see,
yeah.
huh?
But
So
we
Father,
see you.
it is 6:01. After 9 minutes, you have asked me to break, right?
Yeah, but you can go ahead. Go ahead. Feel free. Yeah.
No, they should not be tied. Okay, so let us understand the book of Joshua. Now I will be a free bird. Okay, I
Yeah.
will not be tied to this cage of called note. I'm putting it aside. So Joshua, let us see two types of times in Bible. One type of time is called time of the event, and the other type of time is called time of writing. These two times are different. Time of the event and time of writing. Only one event that happened in the Bible and it was immediately written down was crossing of the Red Sea. It happened in 1210 before Christ, and a song was sung, and that song was immediately written down. Because time of writing and time of event, that is the same. Otherwise, there is a gap of some centuries. Okay, so in 1210 before Christ, after wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, Joshua has to lead the people into the promised land. Promised land is today's Israel on the west side of the river Jordan. If any one of you have been to Israel, this is the place called promised land on the west side of the river Jordan. Now, while Joshua was to lead his people, this whole land were filled with local tribes, indigenous people. I give some names, okay? So there were Canaanites, Hittites, Hivites, Jebusites, Perizzites, Ammonites. There are 13 tribes, but numerically the strongest tribe was Canaanites. So everybody was known as Canaanites. Now, what was the situation before Joshua entered? Here, first situation, let us see political situation. Political situation means every tribe was in its own little village, and village has one sarpanch. So, no central leadership. There is only local leadership. Whereas incoming tribes, 12 tribes of Israel were coming in with one central leadership, Joshua. Whereas this all were local leadership. So it was very easy to win them over one after the other. That was political situation. Social situation. This was rather hard reality. 75% of the land belonged to kings and priests. 25% land was divided among these all non-priests, non-royals. So these non-priests, non-royals had very little land. 25% land was in their hands. And second reality, they have to pay tax to the temple, that means to the priest, and they have to pay to the king, 1/10. They were not at all happy with the kings and with their priests. They were waiting for someone from outside to come and help them out. That was social situation. Let us go to religious situation. Religious situation, the god name was Baal, and Baal has a partner, consort, a female goddess, Asherah, and this was a religion which was promoting sacred prostitution. People did not like it. It is there. So these three situations, namely political, no central leadership; second, unequal distribution of land and unequal payment of taxes; religious situation, sacred prostitution. So they were waiting if some outsiders come and help us. So when Joshua entered with the 12 tribes, they were so nicely welcomed. So Joshua could conquer the land. So my dear brothers, my dear sisters, first 12 chapters of Joshua, they are busy with telling us how Joshua conquered the land. That is the first 12 chapters. Joshua has second task, and that second task is from chapter 13 to 20 up to 22. What is the second task? Distribute the land. Now this is the beautiful arrangement God asked Joshua to do. Joshua, divide the land among these 12 tribes. There will be indigenous tribes living with them. They will not go away. They will be there. But now divide the land, and divide in such a way that if the land is fertile, give small piece. If the land is not fertile, then give big piece, so that everyone has enough to eat. And Joshua does beautiful arrangement. Everything is in the notes. In the Bible first, and then I have copied it in the notes. So 12 tribes are given 12 pieces. Now let us listen to one fact. Tribe Levi is not given land. Chapter 13, the Lord says, Levi tribe will not get the land. Okay, so then there should be only 11 pieces. Then Joseph is also not given land, because Joseph is in Egypt. He died there. So Joseph's two sons are given land. So let us count nicely. 12 pieces make, but Levi will not get the land, so there should be only 11 pieces. Joseph died in Egypt. He did not come to the promised land, so there should be only 10 pieces. But now Joseph's two sons are given land, Manasseh and Ephraim. Thus 12 pieces are made. So Levi will not have, but Manasseh and Ephraim, they are getting the land, so there are 12 pieces. Towards the end of the book of Joshua, 23rd, 24th chapter, there is the final farewell address of Joshua, wherein he says, now you choose. Would you like to be loyal to God, Yahweh, or would you like to worship as your ancestors worshipped other gods? And people make a resolution. We shall worship only Yahweh. There's the book ends. And this is 6:10 according to my word. Would you like to have a break? Then do have a break. If you want to ask me, ask me.
Break in the sense, break in the sense they are going to ask. If they have questions, they might raise some questions.
Wonderful. If they want to.
Yes. Anybody wants to ask a question for clarification?
Yes.
Christopher, go ahead.
Yes, Christopher Godfrey. Yes.
Good evening, Father. Thank you so much.
Oh, good evening, my brother. Yes.
Thank you, Father.
Yes.
Father, I just wanted to, the Southern Kingdom They, in the deputations, it's how many deputations were there, Father, please, in the southern kingdom?
Okay, very good question. First time it was 598 before Christ. The king is the same, Nebuchadnezzar.
Okay.
After that, he just took some people, not everybody. But he appointed one king according to his choice. His name is Zedekiah. This Zedekiah should have remained loyal to Nebuchadnezzar, which he did not. So second time it happened, 586 before Christ. That was so twice, my brother. Now, when in the gospel it is mentioned, the second one is mentioned, 586. Wow, wonderful, nice. Oh, you have got good knowledge. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other question? I think Rachel, you have a question there, no? What did you ask?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, my question is that Yahweh was considered the god of one of the tribes, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, when we say Yahweh is the god of Israel, actually Yahweh was a tribal god which was considered. So each tribe had their own local tribal gods, isn't it?
Yes.
So why was Yahweh selected to be the overarching god
For
the whole of Israel?
okay. See, Israel are tribes, but coming from one root. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Jacob got that name Israel because of Genesis chapter 32, verses 22 to 32. The wrestling the whole night, God changes the name of Jacob to Israel. Jacob has one wife, but she has come with another maid servant. So Leah came with Zilpah. Then he wanted to marry Rachel, and Rachel came with Bilhah. Now, he had marital relationship with all four, and he was the father of 12 sons. These 12 are called sons of Israel. And the sons of Israel's generations are called Israelites. Now, each son will give the name to that tribe. So we have Reuben tribe, Simeon tribe, Judah tribe, Levi tribe, Issachar tribe, Zebulun tribe. All these tribes you will know by heart because they are there in the book. Now, all of them had only one God because Abraham had that Yahweh. Whereas Canaanites, Perizzites, Hittites, Hivites, Ammonites, Amalekites, they had their own gods, and each god had name. But Israelites had an overarching God, as you put it, my dear sister. Nice word you use. That overarching God is just because of Abraham. Had Abraham not been there? No. So Genesis 12 is the beginning of history of Israel. But since this is done in Pentateuch, I do not touch it. Okay? Yeah, very good.
Thank
Oh
you.
my gosh, you are intelligent people, huh?
Yes, yes, yes.
Very nice.
Educated people, most of them, and some of
I
them
know.
experienced people. They have a lot of church experience.
Very nice thing, very nice thing. Yes.
Any other questions? Okay.
Hello. Shall I ask one question, sir?
Yes. Yes, I think Borgio Luis. Yes, I can see you.
Yeah.
My brother.
When I gone through this about King Nebuchadnezzar,
Right.
I have heard that he is a partially Jew, while the previous attack by not Judea, the Israel kingdom was attacked by the other Alexandrian king or something, and the Babylonians had taken over.
Assyrian. Yes, you are right.
Yeah, Assyrians.
Yes.
And the Assyrians was cooped by these Babylonians, but these Babylonians are basically partially Jews. That means all the Assyrians have taken these Israel from Israel
Yes,
to
you are right.
this
You
place,
are right.
and they are mixed. Yeah.
Yes,
So
you are right.
is he a partial Jew? Yeah.
Okay, see, originally, if we see Genesis chapter 11, verse 27, Genesis chapter 11, verse 27, we are given there the name of the city Ur, and Ur is in Chaldea, which is today's Iraq, which will become later on Babylon. So, my brother, what you are tracing, there is truth. There are a lot of mixing up. Afterwards, as you said, during the Assyrian invasion, the Israelites were brought to Assyria, and mixed group, mixed breed came into being. So that can be. Okay? But every
Okay.
Jew will be very much eager to have same father and same mother. That is, if I have a Jewish father and Jewish mother, then I am a pure Jew. Otherwise, mixed, they are very sharp about that. Yes, yes. Okay. Good
Okay.
questions,
Thank
huh?
you for that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Any other question?
Yes, Father, I had one question. Can I
Yes.
try?
This is
Yeah.
Sylvia.
Sylvia.
Yes, Sister Sylvia.
Father, scholars often speculate that, the DH history could be written by the school of Jeremiah. What is
Yes.
your take on that, Father?
Jeremiah is definitely a very intelligent person. And if you read Jeremiah chapter 7, my dear sister, you will see he is the only one speaking against the temple of Jerusalem.
Yes.
No other had the guts to speak against that temple, because everybody thought that temple of Jerusalem is so sacrosanct, so much so in Acts of the Apostles chapter 7, Stephen is stoned to death in the presence of Paul, because he spoke something which he did not speak against temple, but it was interpreted that way. So, my dear sister, if you have interpreted that Jeremiah could be from DH, surely, because he was a very one who never took the religion as such. He even criticized the reformations brought by King Josiah. Josiah he finished off all the sanctuaries and made temple in Jerusalem sacrosanct. He says, no, Josiah, you're making a mistake. I don't agree with you. So what you say, yeah, Deuteronomistic historians have this way. See where the reality, where the truth is. Don't just go for the tradition. So, sure, huh? Nice question.
Thank you, Father. Thank you.
Yes, very nice.
Father Jimmy, now you can continue.
I will go.
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead. Continue with
Yeah.
the lesson.
Yeah,
Only
very good. So now I'm going to the second book. Most likely Father Rajkumar, I won't be able to finish all 16 books. We'll have to do some mechanism. We'll try.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. You go ahead as much as possible. The rest we have a second session later.
We'll see. Sure, we'll see. Okay. So now I go that Joshua has taken the people into the promised land. Let us call it Israel, because so far it was known by the numerically strong tribe Canaanites. So it was called Canaan. Now Israelites have taken over, so the land becomes Israel. In Israel, once they settle down, the divisions of the land is done. Now comes another phase of history. So let me first take you back. When they were in the Egypt in slavery, they were brought out by one person, Moses. So the system that time was one leader, whole group, all Israelites. They were led into the wilderness, one leader, Moses, whole group. They were led into promised land, one leader, Joshua, whole group. Now comes a different situation. In this land, which is Israel, the tribes live independent of each other. So Reuben tribe, independent of Simeon tribe, independent of Judah tribe, independent of Levi tribe, independent of Issachar tribe, independent of Dan tribe. All of them are living independent of each other. So it's like brothers now living independent of each other. What is happening? When these tribes became independent, three situations can arise. First situation, those tribes that are on the border. Now there are neighboring countries. I will just give you the names of the neighboring countries anti-clockwise. So down south is Egypt. If we go anti-clock, then in the west we have Philistia, today's Palestine. If we go north on the west side, then we have Tyre, we have Sidon. If we go in the north, then we have Jordan. If we still move, then we have Syria. If we still move, then we have Iraq. And if we come down towards east, then we have Ammon, which is Amman of today. Then we have Moab. Then we have Edom. So there are neighboring countries. So first possibility, the tribe that is on the frontier is attacked by the neighboring country. First possibility. Second possibility, the tribe Judah will have confrontation with tribe Naphtali. So tribe. This is called inter-tribe conflict. Third possibility, intra-tribe. In Judah tribe, two families would be in conflict. Now these are called conflict situations. One possibility from the neighboring countries. Second possibility from the neighboring tribe. Third possibility within the tribe. Now there is no central leadership. So whom to approach? In those situations, my brothers, my sisters, one leader, charismatic leader would come up on his own, on her own. There is one she also. And would take the situation into her hand, into his hand, and deflect. If it is the neighboring country, defeat. If it is the neighboring tribe, defeat. If it is intra-tribe, find an amicable solution. So while doing this, this person will be respected, revered. And as long as he lives or she lives, there will be peace. Now, since he or she did wonderful job, therefore, this person will be approached for even simple little conflict, simple little friction. And this person is revered as the judge. So we have now another book called Book of Judges. This book of Judges covers the period from 1210 to about when King Saul is appointed. So it's about 200 years period. And in this 200 years period, Deuteronomists have collected 12 judges. 12 judges. So we have the description in these books, 12 judges. Everything is given in the notes, which are the names of the judges, all are given. Some are described at a length, some are described very, very briefly. Let me take one or two judges. You know one judge, Gideon. Now he has to fight for his tribe against Midianite tribe. Midianite tribe, I'm purposely taking the name because Moses' wife was a Midianite. And that tribe was in good relationship in the past, but later the relationship became very sour, vitiated. And therefore Gideon has to save his tribe from Midianites. That is inter-tribe? No, outside tribe, because Midianites are not one of the 12 Israelite tribes. Let me give another example of Samson. Samson is taking his tribe against the country Philistia, today's Palestine. So that country is on the west towards southwest of Israel. That country was troubling. So here is the judge called Samson. So there are nice stories of all these judges. Some of them described at a length, as I have already said, and these two are described at a length. Others are simply just mentioned. But I must mention one judge, and her name is Deborah. Why I mention Deborah? Because Deborah is the one judge who was respected not only by her own tribe, by the neighboring tribes also. She was one of the very, very popular, loved by the people of Israel, Deborah. And she has, that is appearing in chapter 5 of Judges, he has a song of Deborah. And the biblical scholars say that that song, when she sang, it was written down. The time of writing and time of event is more or less the same. As I said about the song of the crossing of the river. Now these judges are doing, but some mistakes also do occur. Now, I would like to make just mention of one mistake that you will read. One concubine is raped and she's cut into pieces. Very, very pathetic description you will find towards the end of the book of Judges. But I want to make a mention that during this time there was a severe famine in the time of Judges. And many, many people migrated to the neighboring countries. And one family from Bethlehem migrates to Moab. And there Ruth enters into Israelite history. Therefore, book of Ruth appears immediately after book of Judges. But that we will be seeing towards the end. But at the moment, I just wanted to tell you why book of Ruth appears immediately after book of Judges. So, book of Ruth is not a Deuteronomistic history. It is because during the time of Judges, severe famine, a family has to migrate from Bethlehem to Moab, and there Ruth enters into Israel. Okay, now 12 judges are mentioned. As the book finishes, the last judge we will encounter is Samson. After that, there are some chapters. As I said, one chapter you will find of that concubine. Very lively reading, and we will remain unmoved, surely. We will move, my dear brothers, my dear sisters. But there we have to reflect on the word of God and how the Deuteronomist is presenting. That we have to find out. And I think the way you are asking a question, you are deep thinkers and very, very nicely reflecting. So continue in that. I want to now take you to 1 Samuel, but how shall we go? How shall we go? Samuel can be considered the last judge. So though the book of Judges end with the 12th judge, the 12th judge is Samson. That's a 12th judge. After the 12th judge, 1st Samuel begins. But 1st Samuel up to chapter 8, so up to chapter 7, it is Samuel. We can call him the 13th judge. We can call him the last judge. We can call him the prophet. We can call him the seer. All these, whatever you want to call him, fits. What happens now? For 200 years, the period, 200 years period, people of Israel have seen, experienced their own judgeship. That every tribe is ruled by one's own judge. Whereas they see neighboring countries, they have their own kings. Egypt has a king, Philistia has a king, Tyre has a king, Syria has a king. Everyone has a king. And they simply guess, imagine that we are not having king. That is the reason we are not making any progress. Which is true, which is not true, only history will let us know. So since we have no king, we have only our own judge, and we are just limited. Therefore, we are not progressing as the others. So now, when Samuel is becoming old, and Samuel is about to appoint his son as the judge over Israel, and Samuel was accepted by many tribes, the people of Israel, different tribes approached Samuel, we don't want your son. Now you are also old, your sons are not worthy, give us a king. So this is asking for a king. My dear brothers, my dear sisters, so from here, the situation, the institution is going to be changed. So far, the people who were in the slavery in Egypt, when they came out, they had experienced one system, one leader, whole group. That system continued till they entered the promised land. One leader, Joshua, one group. That system changed into each tribe its own leader. Now they want to change. Now they want to change. They want that. Now we should have one king. So Samuel is unhappy. So Samuel is telling the Lord, Lord, what should I do? They are asking for a king, but you are the king. So they are asking against you. Lord, maker of history, ask Samuel. Samuel, explain to them what are the advantages of kingship, what are disadvantages of kingship, and let them choose. And people choose to have a king. So now, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, these two books are written. These two books, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, these two books will speak of three protagonists. Protagonist 1, Samuel. Up to chapter 7, Samuel will be the main protagonist. Then from chapter 8 onward, King Saul will take over. Now, King Saul comes from the tribe Benjamin. So whenever you remember tribe, it would be very good to remember the name of the mother also. Because father is common, Jacob, Israel. But the mother is either Leah or Zilpah or Rachel or Bilhah. So Benjamin is the youngest son of Rachel and youngest son of Jacob. This Benjamin, Binyamin in Hebrew, is the tribe of King Saul. Word meaning also is Al in Hebrew means to ask, and Saul means one who is asked. So Saul or Saul in English is the king who was asked by the people. Wonderful. Wonderful. Now from chapter 8 of 1 Samuel, we will keep on seeing Saul as the king of Israel till we reach chapter 15. Chapter 15, something happens. Now I must let you know so that you also can reflect. You also can reflect. In chapter 15, this Saul king is asked to kill all the Amalekites. Now, who are Amalekites? Let us see. That was one of the tribes, indigenous tribes in the promised land. When Moses was bringing the people of Israel, one leader, whole group, from south, from Mount Sinai, Moses wanted to enter into the promised land. But Amalekites, the indigenous tribes, stood there as a firm wall. Firm wall did not allow them to enter. In fact, defeated Israelites. Israelites fell back to Mount Sinai. That was an old story. It was in 1210 before Christ. Now Saul is king in 1030 before Christ. After 200 years, the people have not forgotten that we were mistreated, we were maltreated by these people called Amalekites. So now we have the king. King, kill all of them. Now, in chapter 15, 1 Samuel, if you read, king goes, Saul goes, fights against the Amalekites. King of Amalekites is such a wonderful man, such a nice person. They become friends, and he does not kill. Now that is taken as disobedience of King Saul. Difficult to digest, but you think over it, you reflect. If you read the text, you get some inspiration. So King Saul is considered to be disobedient. It's the result. King Saul is dethroned. In chapter 15, King Saul is dethroned by the one who enthroned him. Enthroning person was Samuel. Dethroning person was Samuel. Now in chapter 16 of 1 Samuel, we have new king anointed. That new king is David. The tribe is changed. The tribe is Judah. Judah is the son of Leah. Jacob, father, Leah, mother, third son, Judah. So now, King David. We have at a time two kings. One is dethroned king, another one is anointed king. But dethroned King Saul is not allowing King David to behave, to act as king. So we have three persons at a time in the history of Israel. Samuel, not very powerful, but these two are powerful, Saul and David. Finally, what will happen? The parallel history would go on. In chapter 31, 1 Samuel 31, it is coming to an end. In chapter 31, 1 Samuel, this King Saul is committing suicide while fighting against the Philistines, Palestinians of today. He commits suicide because he was about to be killed. He did not want to be killed by the sword or by the spear of an uncircumcised. So he commits suicide. So this first Samuel, we have two persons getting out of the history, Samuel and Saul. Second Samuel is totally reserved for King David. And this King David now rules up to chapter 10, rising of King David. But chapter 11 onwards, all begins. David is falling systematically. My brothers, my sisters, this Deuteronomist, I have told you, the characteristic of the Deuteronomist: if you obey, you prosper. If you disobey, you perish. And this principle continues in the life of David. David, chapter 11, I'm sure you would know. 2 Samuel 11. David commits a sin. Not a sin, series of sins. The person involved is Bathsheba. And after that, Deuteronomist will bring prophet Nathan, and Nathan will be announcing what will happen. David would continue, David would ask pardon, and you know, when Nathan makes him away, what a serious crime you have done. The tradition says, Psalm 51. That is the psalm David sang, Lord, have mercy on me. Beautiful psalm. After that, the decline of David and rising of Solomon. But I see Father Rajkumar on the screen, and 6:43. So Father, I should give you the enough time to talk with them. And if I have a chance, my brothers, my sisters, I will be glad. If I don't have a chance, I thank you very much for Thank you, Father Rajkumar.
Father Jimmy, thank you so much. Before I go into the full-fledged Thanksgiving, let us see whether anyone wants to ask some questions for clarifications in case someone is interested in raising a question. Please, you are welcome. Any questions?
Father, couldn't Father go until 7?
That's fine, but I'm not sure whether, because we need to keep in mind all the others. But I will bring Father again, definitely. But I will talk to him.
Yes, I will.
Part 2 of historical books, definitely.
Yes, we have not finished. Yes.
So,
Can I ask a question?
others also, in case they have other programs to go after 6:45, I don't want to make them miss that. So, therefore, now.
Father, I have a question.
Father, I also have a question, Marjorie Francis.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Father, I'm asking.
Yes.
Father, can you tell me one thing that it seems you mentioned it as a kind of exception that a woman was also in the side, taking her place. But on the whole, wouldn't you say that the history of Israel is a very patriarchal kind of society? I mean, women had a very, very minor role, if at all, I think. Would you agree on that?
Women had minor role in the Israelite society. Is this a statement, my dear sister?
Yeah, I mean that wasn't basically a very patriarchal society. I mean, even when you discuss kings or things, I mean, there are hardly any women in it.
Yeah. See, it has become a patriarchal society, but actually, the woman played a very vital role. But we can definitely take up once we have seen the last part of history also, inspirational history. Out of 4 protagonists, 3 of them are women, Ruth, Judith, and Esther. So we'll wait till we finish all these historical books, and then we might have a better picture. At this moment, there will be little unclear picture, and unclear picture might give us unclear vision also. So we wait, huh?
Yeah.
Surely. Sister Sylvia, I will get back.
Father, this is Silveria. You have mentioned that Samson was also one of the judges. Now, while there is an understanding of Samson and Delilah and the story of him bringing down the house, etc.,
Yes,
but his role as a judge is not very clear, right? At
Very
least in the
clear, yeah.
scriptures. Yeah.
Therefore, we have to remember that charismatic leader, one who had some sort of charisma, some sort of charism which he could defend his own people, and he could defend that. Giving verdict will not be the main function. So this is how, now when we say today's terminology, we are very precise. Now we must think of 2000 years ago or more than that, when terminology was very flexible. So though we would say judge, in your description, what just now you said, it's fitting that he could not be, but he was definitely a charismatic, my dear sister, where he defended the people of Israel against Philistia. But then you see what happened towards the end. Yes?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Thank you so much, Father. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, and we will keep on, huh? Yes. I think, Christopher, you want to ask something. Yes, Christopher.
Father, this the sin of Saul, does he remain unrepentant? Saul?
Looks like, if you read this, looks like, yes, looks like. But you know, you also think, or I also am thinking, what is that disobedience?
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Huh? Good. Thank you. Yes, Father Rajkumar.
Anybody else? Okay, good. Father Jimmy.
Yes,
First
Father.
of all, thank you so much. When I was listening to you, there was depth and warmth in your presentation. You have a love for it, and you have given us that love towards these historical books, and also your presentation, the entire scriptural in a first glance. Thank you so much for your wonderful way of explaining that it is
right.
As a love for it. Good.
Yes.
But definitely, I will discuss with you later.
Yeah, sure.
Explanation in which you will also make sure that you are in the right before the right computer.
No. This is you know, Rajkumar. This is a borrowed place. I'm teaching somewhere. My brother, sister, I'm teaching somewhere. I'm in exile teaching somewhere, and therefore I had to come to this place. So this is a borrowed place. This is not my room. My room is.
Very good. Thank you, Father. Thank you so much.
Forgive me, Rajkumar, for wasting time. But but meantime, I was listening to your Eucharist. Okay, I was listening to your Eucharist while they were preparing for the other computer.
I was just trying to improv. Very good.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much. And so my participants, all of you, you have been very patient, very kind. You never made any grumbling statements or annoying. That was very nice of you. Thanks for your
See you, huh? We'll remain in touch.
And I will definitely get Father once again, and we will listen to him about these historical books, and we will become stalwarts in historical books. And, I wish you a wonderful day.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Mr. Yesunadam. I can see Prabha. Right.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead. Have a pleasant evening.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you, Father. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you, Rajkumar.
Yes, Jimmy, I will call you later.
Sure, Rajkumar. Huh? Sure, we'll be in touch. Very nice. Huh? Thank you, Sister Sylvia. Right.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you, Sister Prabha.
Beautiful session. Beautiful. Thank you.
Father Jimmy, though you have been calling everyone sister, I understand in a Christian way, sister brothers, but some of them are okay, remember that. Many of them are people.
We don't mind
In Christian sense, I'm calling my sister.
Very warm session, Father. Very warm session. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And a wonderful scholar. Thank you, Father. Thank you.
Yes. Very good.
Thank
We
you,
will have
Father.
one more. Through Father Rajkumar, we will have some more sessions. Thank you, Father Rajkumar. Always available.
Thank you, Father Jimmy ji. Thank you very much.
Yes.
John Francis, thank you.
Yes, this is Joseph was, huh? Right.
Joseph Vaz is Missionaries of Charity brother, isn't it? Yes. He's a nice young person, very regularly attending all the classes. Great.
Yes. Yes.
And Sister Prabha is there. Very good.
Father, thank you very much.
And Sister Prabha, I can see Sister Sylvia,
Thank you,
Peter,
Father.
and this is
Thank you.
Errol Singh. Wow. And this is
And Herald is there from Rajasthan, Jaipur.
right. And this is Prabha. Yes, 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 yes.
From Ghana, thank you.
Your neighbor of mine. Your neighbor. Nice. Very nice. Very nice. It's a good day, no?
Good.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, Father.
Sure.
Yes,
Fine.
Father, you can leave now, okay?
Okay,
You
yeah,
just
sure.
press on that red symbol there, phone. Leave
Yeah.
the call. You press on that, it will go.
Okay, okay. Yes, yes, yes.
In the middle, you find there is a phone sign.
Yes, yes.
Just click on that. You will exit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. No, no. Even if I don't exit, I will call the father. He will do it.
Okay, good. Thank you, Father.
Okay, so I'll
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye,
Yes,
Rashmi.
Father. Okay.